Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another interview here at CryptoSpace, Crypto Miners CryptoSpace. What's happening? Can I be heard? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Thank you.
Yep, all good.
I started 3 times now. So welcome everyone to Crypto Miners Twitter space. My name is Mary, and I will now host this space. And a reminder that anything we talk about in here is for only educational purpose. So do your own research and no financial advice. I've been looking forward to this interview since I heard they were coming, and I'm very pleased to present to you the one and only Polkadot. And our guests here today are Mr. Radhakrishna Dasari and I think Mr. Michalis Fragladakis. Welcome, guys.
Close enough, but thank you.
Close enough, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, just call him Michalis.
Okay,
Yeah,
Michalis
that works.
and
Yes.
Radhakrishna.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm so happy to have you here, guys. Warm welcome to both of you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, maybe you can start by presenting yourselves a little bit so we know who you are and where you work in Polkadot.
Sure, I can go first. I'm Radha, technical education lead at Web3 Foundation. And yeah, it's been like 2 years at Web3 Foundation. I hope we get a chance to explain more about what we do later. But for now, that's my introduction.
Very good. What about you, Michalis?
Yes, I've been for about two years too in Web3 Foundation as support and anti-scam lead. We support users with everyday issues, either with the network or the wallets that party develops, and we also try to protect them from scams.
Very good. So Polkadot has been around for a while, and most people in here probably at least have heard about it. But can we please still have a little, like an elevator pitch? What is Polkadot in a few sentences?
Sure, I can take that. So, I mean, we can't give like a non-technical definition whenever we're asked like this. So the technical definition is that it's a heterogeneous multi-chain. So in simple words, what it means is, so Polkadot, it's a blockchain, right? So it's quite different from other blockchains that are out there. So it's a collection of multiple chains that are running in parallel. So that's why we have what is called parachains. So we have over 35 parachains that are running now. And all of those, along with the Polkadot main chain, it's what like Polkadot is about. So I hope I gave some explanation there that gave like intuition of what the blockchain is about, and we can expand on this further later on.
Yeah, sure. So when it started back in 2017, what did you see, or what did one see then that Polkadot could help solve? What is the main problem that Polkadot is targeting or trying to solve?
Yeah, so two of the main problems that Polkadot aimed to solve are shared security and interoperability. So first of all, like if you were to start your own blockchain, how secure are your blocks, right? So that's something every new blockchain project has to consider. The other thing is whether this blockchain can talk to other blockchains out there, right? So the interoperability aspect of it. So these were the two main problems that Polkadot tried to solve from ground up. And you would have already noticed, like in the last 1 year, there have been plenty of hacks over the bridges. So interoperability is a big use case now, but people haven't figured out a way to do it correctly. So that's where like Polkadot from ground up has focused in sort of solving that problem.
And you have managed, you mean, you are solving that problem already? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so you can check the XCM transactions that are happening on the network right now. So every single XCM transaction, I mean, for those of you who are not aware of what XCM is, so it's our cross-chain, messaging protocol. It's called cross-consensus messaging. So every single message that gets passed between, our parachains, it's being secured by Polkadot's entire network security. So that's a start, but we have plenty of new developments in the cross-chain communication, area as well, which will take it like even more further.
Okay. So would you say this time now when people call it a bear market that you're developing more and it gives you time to find new solutions and more developing?
Well,
I mean,
during in a bear market is where most of the work gets done.
yeah.
Because things are quiet. But yeah, I mean, in development perspectives, from the development aspect, yeah, we are seeing growth across the ecosystem, from developing the core protocol, the runtime, to developing parachains, to developing dApps built on top of parachains. It's hard to measure exactly, but based on GitHub commits and from across all the projects building for Polkadot, yeah, there is definitely growth in development. But Mary, if you allow me to add something to what Rada said before, I would also add scalability as a problem that Polkadot is trying to solve. We are seeing sharding being something that many chains trying to do, and Polkadot was built with that in mind, in terms of that the relay chain doesn't need to do everything. Everything does not need to live on Polkadot. Instead, we have the use case specific parachains that focus on one specific task, and because they can interact and talk to each other through XCM, that allows the relay chain to work as the layer 0 protocol that provides the security and allows then each parachain to build something specific that solves a specific problem. So that alleviates a great deal of load from the relay chain. And in fact, a lot of the things that we are going to discuss today, like governance, staking, even balances and accounts, at some point the goal is to move them out of the relay chain and onto what we call system parachains.
Yeah, and you mentioned layer 0 now. What does that really mean? I have understand that there are not so many layer 0 blockchains out there. So how is that different, and what kind of advantages does that give you to be a layer 0?
Sure, I can take that. So basically, if you think of like blockchains like Bitcoin or Ethereum, so these are termed like layer 1 blockchains, right? So Bitcoin is good at doing one thing. It keeps track of balances across the accounts on it. It's basically a ledger. And you have Ethereum, which is like a generic chain which can do a lot, but it has sort of its own like rules on how things are done there. So all of these are like layer 1 blockchains, and Polkadot, being a layer 0 blockchain, can let blockchains like Bitcoin or Ethereum with similar kind of functionality to run as blockchains on top of it. So basically, it doesn't make any assumptions on the logic or the fee structure or the governance or anything to do with like that blockchain's functionality. So there is no assumption made in the layer 0 blockchain level. So think of like internet. So internet doesn't make any assumption on the kind of applications built on top of it, right? So it's what like led to the creation of Netflix or Uber or Facebook. So all of these different applications that use like different levels of functionalities offered by the ground layer. So that's what like Polkadot does for blockchains. So being a layer 0 blockchain, it doesn't make any assumption on how the layer 1 blockchains work on top of it. So we have a few layer 1 parachains joining this call as well. So that's just an example showing how the layer 0 blockchain achieves all that.
Okay, that sounds interesting. I mean, so you are the base of blockchain, you can say. You're the first, or where others can build, everyone else can build on Polkadot, basically.
Yeah, so if someone wants to just replicate what Ethereum is doing on Polkadot, sure, they can build like a parachain, port all that logic onto it and then run. In fact, we have parachains that are already doing it.
So if I have a coin and I want to launch it on Polkadot, how do I have to do? I mean, you have this Kusama as your test offer. Or what can you
We
do?
wouldn't call it
It's
test
not a
network.
test net. Yeah, it's a canary network. It has value. Kusama has value. Works very, very similarly to Polkadot. It just it's faster. Everything happens quicker on Kusama, and it's cheaper. But other than that, it's a fully functional network that is meant to push things to their breaking point. The motto is expect chaos, and in fact, today we had some kind of chaos happening on Kusama. So that things are tested in a live environment with parachains, apps, everything, before they move to the more robust and slow-moving Polkadot.
So I have to. Does all the projects who want to launch on Polkadot has to try first on Kusama or not?
No, not necessarily. And there are projects that are building on Kusama that don't plan to move to Polkadot. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's advisable to try things first on Kusama because things also happen first on Kusama. So yeah, if something goes wrong, obviously value is involved, and in most of the cases, all effort is being made to secure, and in case something goes wrong, return value. But yeah, two different networks, one canary, one more robust and battle tested, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to add on top of that. So if you think of like blockchains, they are like adversarial environments, right? So every public blockchain has to expect the worst out there. So as a developer, even if your program works correctly, you should also check whether it can't be gamed, to be taken advantage of. And the only way to test it is like put it in the real world scenario with some economic incentives or whatever. So that's what like Kusama provides for all the developers out there, so they can actually develop, innovate, create these blockchain products. They have this Kusama and its ecosystem for like testing it in like real world scenario, and with confidence they should be able to move that application to Polkadot if they need to.
Okay, and also I've read that there is like 100 spots to be filled on Polkadot. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so the number 100 was given probably sometime around 2019 when the initial tests were being made. So that 100 number no longer applies. So we keep adding new parachains. We are doing a lot of network optimizations. So we just have to check what the limit is, and it's much higher than 100.
So how many projects are on Polkadot today, approximately?
Yeah, so it's not approximate. There are like 35 parachains that are running on Polkadot, parallelly without any sort of issues. Because Kusama is like the test bed for all of this. So Kusama will always have more parachains than Polkadot. So right now it has over 46. And then we have like auctions happening like every other week, which tend to like add more and more parachains.
And tell me more about these auctions. I mean, to be able to put your project on Polkadot, you have to like bid for a space, or how does it work? You have to stake
Well,
dots.
first of all, Mary, let's clarify that building a parachain is not the only way to build
Okay.
for Polkadot. You can build a dApp. You can create a coin. So I would say that for most developers and for most users out there, the use case would probably be on a parachain, not on the relay chain itself. So if you want to build a DeFi app, you don't have to build a parachain. You can build your dApp on a parachain that is built, that is optimized for DeFi, for example. So the slots that Rada mentioned is for the parachains only. I mean, that's the building a parachain is the most impactful way that you can build, but it's not necessary. And in the future, there will also be what we call para-threads, which are basically parachains with a pay-as-you-go model. So you might build a chain that doesn't need to be connected to the relay chain and to other parachains all the time, but I don't know, every 100 blocks. In that case, you could become a parathread, and you pay the blocks that actually the time that you are actually connected to the relay chain. But to come back to your original question about auctions, yes, if a chain wants to become a parachain, they need to put in a deposit to lease the slot for a period of time. And this happens with what is known as a candle auction, which dates back to the 18th century, I believe, which on the blockchain, it basically means that everyone can see what everyone is bidding for the slot, but we don't know who the winner is until after the auction ends, at which point the verifiable random function retroactively determines at what point the auction ended, and that incentivizes people to bid their what they actually intend to bid early on. But yes, parachain slots are real estate, so to speak, and chains that want to become parachains need to put in some deposit. Many of them, actually most of them, do use the crowd loan mechanism, which allows them to go to their communities and say, hey, lock your dot for the lease period, which on Polkadot most commonly is 2 years, and help us get the slot. And usually they give back some tokens as a reward for the community missing out on staking rewards and locking their dot for 2 years. I mean, rather feel free to chime in, but I think it's been a very successful model, both the auction and the crowd loan mechanism. And we have seen some cases where it was very close, and one parachain candidate was ahead most of the time, but in the end, because of the candle auction, another candidate won the slot. And Actually, it was quite exciting the first time it happened.
So it can be like a competition between people who wants to do parachain, and one is winning and one is losing.
Well, yes, for the specific slot, but because auctions happen all the time, parachains that didn't win a slot this time win
Try
it,
again.
the
Okay.
next or the one after that.
I see.
Yeah, I think to add to that, partly this auction mechanism enforces some level of quality in terms of like the projects that are in the ecosystem, right? So in Web3, in a decentralized world where everything is open, uh, we need like some mechanism to sort of like see whether some projects are good or not. So the auctions and their traction, if at all they go to like crowd loan, so they all show that they have some traction in general. They have a genuine product. They care to explain to the community like what they're doing, and that gives like it's sort of like a quality control mechanism, if you can look at it that way. Like on an app store for the apps that go in there. So just the way like for blockchain space, like we have this mechanism.
So what is
But
really
always do
oh, yeah.
your own research, right?
Yeah, so
of
that's
course.
correct.
It's by no means a guarantee that because a team, a parachain won a slot that they will deliver, or
Exactly.
always do your research.
So maybe this is obvious, but what is the difference between a blockchain and a parachain?
So a parachain is also a blockchain that's running in parallel, right? So with like Polkadot, the relay chain. So that's why it's called parachain. The only thing is, in general, the blockchains out there, they implement their own consensus mechanism. The way a blockchain knows a block is final. So that consensus parachain sort of offloaded to Polkadot. So all the parachains on Polkadot rely on Polkadot validators to know about whether their block is final or not. Similarly, on Kusama, the parachains on Kusama rely on Kusama validators for that.
So you share, they can be their own unit, right? The parachains, but you share the security basically.
Exactly. So the parachain, it can do whatever it wants. So it can be a decentralized network. It can be a permission network. So there's no there's no assumption on what a parachain can be. In fact, it need not be a blockchain too. So that's how abstracted the Polkadot's blockchain API is. So as long as the parachain sort of sends these blocks, it tells like these are my rules of these are the rules of my chain, and these are the transactions that have happened on my chain. Could you please validate whether the transactions follow the rules? So Polkadot validators just take the rules, transactions, do the validation, and say so everything looks good, you can finalize this block. So
So let's move on to a little bit more like what's happening now on Polkadot. What's news coming out, and what are you working on at the moment? What's happening in the future?
Well, I'll start with one thing that's happening right now on Kusama, and we'll then move on to Polkadot, and Rada can fill in. It's a change in the model of governance. So what Polkadot and Kusama can do is that they can upgrade themselves. They can upgrade without forks, without forking the chain, and that is done through governance. In the current governance model, the community decides for almost everything through referendum. So anyone who's holding DOT can vote whether a referendum should pass and enact or not. And this is not, the enactment is not an optional thing. The decisions of the verdicts of referendums are enacted by the runtime logic. So if a referendum passes, it will be enacted. And if it fails, it will not, regardless of who proposed it or, you know. And now on Kusama, for a couple of weeks now, we have two governance models in parallel. The new one being OpenGov, previously called Governance 2.0, which enhances on this model, because currently there is also the council and the technical committee which have some authority on fast tracking referendums or managing treasury funds. But now all of that moves to the community because everything will be a referendum. I don't want to go into too many details because it's a complicated model, but depending on how important or how impactful a referendum is, it requires more quorum, it requires longer time to pass. There are more checks and balances compared to a referendum, for example, to tip somebody with DOT for doing something nice for the ecosystem. So I would say that this is the hot thing right now. And the new governance model also introduces what we call the fellowship, which is basically a community, a collective, an on-chain collective of experts, developers, people that have been providing value to the ecosystem, which they do not have any additional impact or voice or power, but they can whitelist certain referendums to fast track them or cancel referendums in case a bug is discovered or something like that. So yeah, I would say that's one thing that's been going on Kusama for now, and hopefully when all the kinks are ironed out, we'll see it on Polkadot too.
So Kusama and Polkadot, they rely on each other also somehow, right? They are like
no, not really. They are two
really.
independent chains, but they work in the same way. Kusama is always ahead, is faster. For example, an era on Polkadot is 24 hours.
Okay.
On Kusama, it's 4 times less, 6 hours.
Cool.
And yeah, for example, OpenGov is introduced first on Kusama, and then once everything is working,
So you
as it
try
should,
everything new on Kusama first before you try it on
yes,
Polkadot.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because Kusama is also a decentralized, and then in a way, it has like 1,000 validators running on it. So features like staking, the new nomination pools or the new governance system. In fact, in the future, if we deploy something even new about like consensus or whatever, all of that will be tested on Kusama first. Make sure that it works. Make sure that it's foolproof and fail safe, and then there'll be a referendum on Polkadot to make that upgrade. So Kusama is like that canary bird. The canary network. Someone just commented in the Twitter thread. Canary sort of confuses people, but it is what it is. Like, it's a canary bird that we take in a coal mine. So everything works properly, then you're ready for taking it to production. So
Yeah.
but just to clarify, things are tested on actual test nets before moving to Kusama. They are not built out of the blue on Kusama. We have Western, we have Rococo for
Rococo.
parachains. We have test nets where stuff are tested first with no economical value, and when they are considered stable enough, they move to Kusama. Then they are audited and move to Polkadot.
So what is tested and ready to go on Polkadot now then? What's the new features coming on Polkadot, the net?
We recently rolled out like nomination pools. So nomination pools went live on Kusama like 3 months back. They were tested thoroughly there, and then now they went recently live on Polkadot. So I can expand on nomination pools a little bit because I think it's of importance to many stakers out there. So earlier there was a high entry barrier to stake on Polkadot, right? So it was somewhere around like 180 dot or 200 dot to actually stake and sort of earn rewards. So nomination pools have reduced that entry barrier to 1 dot. So all you require is like 1 dot or more, and you can take part in the staking. What staking is for securing the network, and in return you earn rewards. So even with a dot balance of 1 dot, you're able to participate in the staking activity and sort of earn rewards for your contribution.
All right. So what else is coming? What can we expect?
So like Michaelis mentioned, the new governance system. So it's going to go through this thorough testing mode on Kusama, like seeing like how it works, how things are happening there. As you can see, there are already few changes that are happening to the rolled out like governance system on Kusama, like adjusting few parameters, trying to see which one will gain a lot of what do you call community participation. So all of those will be tested on Kusama, and then governance will be the next thing to roll out on Polkadot from Kusama.
Okay.
Besides that, one other new thing that actually this happened on Polkadot directly is the collectives system parachain. This is a parachain that allows people to build on-chain collectives, to build communities that have their own rules, and everything is controlled by the blockchain logic. So the first collective that will be active on the collectives parachain and was announced last week is the Polkadot Alliance, which is a consortium of long-standing projects in the ecosystem that decided to come together to promote the correct use of open source code and prevent scams and scammy projects from building on Polkadot. But any type of collective can be built on this parachain. Another thing is the Bridge Hub, that will be another system parachain that will allow other blockchains to connect to Polkadot. And the first connection actually will be between Polkadot and Kusama. So these are not parachains per se, they are completely independent chains like Polkadot and Kusama are, but will allow them to interact with one another. And like I mentioned earlier, in the future, we aim to move a lot of the functionality of the relay chain, like staking, governance, even accounts onto system parachains. So basically, the relay chain will be there just to provide security and interoperability, and your account would live on a parachain.
Interesting. So you could then build a community that's fully decentralized. Is that?
Yes.
Like that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So a decentralized Facebook.
Well, yes. That's not what the collective's parachain is about, but yes, and in fact, there is one parachain that I believe rather they won.
They won it
slot.
recently, which lets you like build. It's basically a decentralized social graph. It lets you build applications like Twitter, Facebook, and everything else as just like a front end thing, and then behind it's just the social graph that gets transferred between these apps. So instead of you creating an account on a new social media, adding all your friends there in that particular app, you already have that social graph, and then you decide where to take that. So lots of interesting things are possible because of this parachain model that Polkadot has, because
Yeah, I
of the
can hear
complete
that.
independence that we give to the parachains. Some parachains need not even have a token, right? So they can decide like how the transactions are sort of made in their blockchains, and we give complete freedom to those parachains that way.
So how
And
are
that
you
and that
taking? Okay,
and
go ahead,
and
Michelle.
sorry, I was going to say that that relates to what I mentioned earlier, that you don't need the parachain in order to build for Polkadot, right? So this is a great example. They are building the base layer, and on top of that, you can build your decentralized version of Facebook, Twitter, without having to build a parachain of your own from the ground up just to build a decentralized Facebook.
Right.
Yeah, very good. So how will you take this out to the world? I mean, we still have this word mass adoption that's frequently used these days. How are you going to try and help that happen on Polkadot? How do you get your
Yeah,
yeah?
I'll share my thoughts first, and maybe Michalis will add more to it. So as we mentioned earlier, like Polkadot being like a layer 0 blockchain. So right now the key focus of most of the people I know in the I mean the ones working on the core protocol, so they want to do their best to create that layer 0 blockchain, which sort of allows for the layer 1 blockchains to flourish and sort of succeed. So you can already see that now that many of the layer 1 blockchains are gaining traction. So they are the ones who are pushing for like more and more like community adoption. But yeah, so it's like Polkadot itself is for the parachains, which are basically development projects. If you think about it, the Polkadot is sort of marketed or catering to these developers who are building sort of parachains, which are building the use cases for like broader adoption. Michalis, do you want to add to it?
So it's more up to those parachains to get their names out there, you mean, basically?
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? So we are basically like an internet layer, and then the applications that are built on top of it are the ones that gain that traction, that user adoption. And also we also hear this, that there's a lot of complaints about the UI that we have. So if you look at the latest like staking dashboard, so we are taking the community feedback into account, and then we have created this new staking dashboard which improves the staking experience on Polkadot. We included like nomination pools, which at the system level improve the experience of the nominators. But yeah, so we are certainly taking the feedback in terms of Polkadot adoption, in terms of like staking and all. And for the technology, it's the parachains that we want to get onboarded, which develop the use cases for broader adoption.
And do you help them also? Do you like, can they advertise on your social media or platforms?
I think we do host a lot of like community calls. Like it's like an open call for anybody who's building on Polkadot. So definitely, like even Web3 Foundation, which is where we work, we have like a grants program. So any sort of interesting use case out there, we see that benefits the ecosystem. So we provide grants for those efforts as well. So certainly, like Web3 Foundation and Polkadot, like I should also mention the role of Treasury. So if you look at the activity on Polkadot Treasury recently, the Treasury has been doing a lot what Web3 Foundation has been doing earlier. Like bootstrapping projects, fund like public infrastructure for the ecosystem. So there's a lot of crunching that Treasury is taking right now to sort of like make it a self-sustainable like ecosystem.
Great. Yeah, and you mentioned Web3 Foundation. We have to go there. But first, Michalis, what is your thoughts about this mass adoption?
Well, yeah, I agree with Rada. I mean, Polkadot is not the end product. Polkadot is software that other
Michaelis,
teams
are you there?
can you hear me?
I can hear you, Michaelis. Maybe Rada
Okay,
can't.
okay.
Oh, I'm not able
Good.
to. Let me rejoin just a second.
Yes, do that. Keep
Okay,
going,
so
Michaelis.
yeah, so like I was saying, Polkadot is not the end product. It's the software upon which other teams can build on their end products. To some extent, even parachains won't be the end product in the near future. Of course, that doesn't mean that we don't want people to know about Polkadot. We don't want people to use dApps and parachains built on Polkadot, but the marketing strategy is really not my area of expertise. So I can't really comment on what's happening there.
All right. So let's move to Web3 Foundation. That's where you both work also. Can you tell us what is that and why is it? What is it for, so to say?
Yeah, so I tend to tell this to broader audience who have, little idea about what we do. So just the way like Ethereum Foundation is there for Ethereum, so we have Web3 Foundation for, Polkadot and Kusama and all the other projects and that we sort of try to bootstrap early in the ecosystem. So Web3 Foundation, we bootstrap like both Polkadot and Kusama projects. So like I mentioned earlier, right now the treasuries of both the blockchains are taking care of that more than us. And then we have an active grants program. So we fund a lot of like grant applications that boost like the growth of the ecosystem. We have the research team in here. So think of like the consensus algorithm running on Polkadot, like the grandpa, babe, all of those were thought about and sort of the proof of concept was implemented right here at Web3 Foundation. So we have the education team, that is where I work in, which sort of tries to scale the education of like Web3 and Polkadot. We have the legal and like regulatory aspects covered as well. So collectively, like Web3 Foundation is sort of the entity that sort of bootstrapped the project. But right now it's like one of the players, one of the many players in the ecosystem that strives and works towards like the success of Polkadot.
Yeah, and I would answer that by saying what Web3 is not. Web3 Foundation is not the gatekeeper of Polkadot. It's not the owner of Polkadot. It's not the arbitrator of Polkadot or Kusama. We researched and built a decentralized system, and that's what Polkadot and Kusama are. So, like Rada said, we are simply another player. Many of the parachains that are connected to Polkadot have their own foundations and their own grants program. So, yeah, it's fair to say that right now Web3 Foundation is just another player in the field. And Rada left us again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, I can hear you.
My voice is a little bit strained today. So I would like to ask maybe if there is someone in the audience that wants to ask something, then you can ask to speak. Also, I wanted to ask you, how much time do you have? Do you have to be somewhere in 15 minutes maybe when the hour is up, or how does it?
Yeah, I need to hop off at the. Well, I can stay on for 5 more minutes, but I don't have much flexibility. I have another call after that.
Okay. What about you, Rada? Oh, Rada is. He
Rada is
rejoined
on and
again.
off.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Mary. One other thing that because it's not new and we are used to it, we don't usually mention it. But Rada mentioned projects being funded by the Treasury directly, and one thing that allowed that to happen, we already had proposals that any team could bring to get funding, but now we also have, for a few months now, bounties and child bounties, which allow funds from the Treasury to be earmarked for specific purposes and controlled by curators, which are usually experts in the specific field, and award these for the specific tasks as described by the bounty. So the bounties and the child bounties give a lot of flexibility and make it much easier to get funding or rewards, depending on what it is you do, for projects, for events, and even for scam fighting and prevention. We have the anti-scam bounty that's been running since March this year for 9 months now, that incentivizes the community to fight scams and educate users on how to stay safe. So yeah, this is a tool. As far as I know, I don't think any other blockchain has a mechanism like that that really allows for treasury funds to be spent flexibly and easily. So it's a great bootstrapping mechanism.
Yeah, very good. I see we have actually someone from a project here who is building on Polkadot. I would like to just invite you and say some words about how it is to to be on Polkadot from Pendulum.
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, I've just been joining in on the space. Thanks so much. Yeah, I can definitely attest to all of the things that Rada and Michalis have been saying. We have also been applying for grants from the Web3 Foundation, and now also the Polkadot Treasury is very much heading in this direction as well. And it is definitely very helpful in terms of funding, and also the expertise provided is very helpful here. So yeah, definitely very helpful for us to be delivering the best product possible out there. So yeah.
So what did make you choose Polkadot instead of some other chains?
Well, just the opportunities that come from the technological aspects, and also what we are really taking a big liking to is the sense of collaborativeness in the space. I think the mechanisms of Polkadot are very much great for facilitating collaboration instead of the chains competing against another. So just to mention the HRMP channels and the ability to basically teleport tokens from one chain to another. All of these things are, have been accumulating in the decision to build on Polkadot, and it's been a very good decision so far.
Very good. Thank you so much for coming up and telling us about that. So I know that you have to go soon, Michalis. I wanted to ask Rada, can you stay a little bit, take some questions, or how does it
Yes,
look?
I can stay.
Okay. So before you go then, Michalis, I would like to just say thank you so much for coming. It was a pleasure. And I have a little special question that I used to ask sometimes, and that is like, if you like pizza with pineapples or not?
Well, I can't answer that question because I've never had it. I'm gluten intolerant, so I can't really have pizza. And when I can, the variety is not so big. However, I can say that it doesn't appeal to me, no. Why put pineapple in a pizza, really? I don't know. It could be great. Never tried it, but the idea not so enticing.
Okay. What about you,
Is
Rada?
that the correct answer? I don't know. I feel it's a
there
trick
is no
question.
correct answer. There's just taste, I guess.
Yeah, unlike Michalis, I've had it. Like it was when I was in grad school, like we had like these free pizza like events where I had one. But would I buy a pineapple pizza? Probably not.
Okay, all right. So, Michalis, do you want to say a few words before you go? Like, do you have a closing statement or something that we missed, maybe?
Not really, other than to say thank you very much for the invitation. It was, I mean, the questions were great. I hope that the answers were good as well, and informative. And yeah,
Yeah, for
anyone
sure.
who is not who doesn't already know about Polkadot and what we are building, yeah, feel free to look it up. The wiki that Rada and his team curate has very large amount of information there, from the very beginner to actually developing for Polkadot. So yeah, thank you again for the invitation.
Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you will be back at some point. It was a pleasure hosting.
Yeah, for sure.
And now let's move on to some questions. And I see we have some people. I think we have like Astar. If you want to talk, maybe, or let's unmute some people here.
Astor is also a parachain on Polkadot, so if
Yeah,
they
that's
want
why
to chime in and say and speak to their experience.
Exactly. You're welcome up, Astar, to speak a little bit about Polkadot and why you choose that, if you want to.
Right.
No pressure.
Okay. Thank you for bringing me up. So my question is, I went through the website and apart from true interoperability, is there any other?
Oh, so what happened? Disappeared? Maybe bad network. I don't know if Astar want to come, or I see Kusama is in here as well.
Oh, that's not Kusama. That's some ambassador's account.
Okay. So common man, I unmuted you again. You disappeared. What was your question? Yes.
Question is, apart from true interoperability, is there any other benefits a user can achieve through this great project?
You have so much background noise going on there. Did you hear the question?
All right, I said.
Yeah, I did, but can you be more specific? I mean, besides what we already mentioned, which is the search security and interoperability and scalability, is something else that you are looking for in a project? I'm not sure how to answer the question.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we have governance, which is like, one of the most robust governances out there for blockchains. We have the forkless upgrades, so that's whenever I give talks, I mention that as my favorite feature, being able to upgrade your blockchain without having to fork it. Yeah, so
All right, thank you.
there are many. Yeah. Okay.
But honestly, the to me, my favorite feature, okay, although forkless upgrades is high up the list, is the fact that you don't need to have a chain that can do everything, okay? Because that creates bottlenecks and that creates use cases that may not be able to be covered by the relay chain. By having a relay chain to provide the security and connection between other parachains, which each parachain does its own thing and specializes in that, and you can build dApps and a lot of other stuff on top of them. I think that's the key difference that Polkadot provides, because it was built with that concept in mind.
That's right. And even we have the substrate blockchain building framework. It's so modular, it's so flexible. You should be able to come up with, any sort of blockchain use case out there and then sort of implement it using substrate blockchain building framework.
Very good, thank you. I unmuted Matt. Do you have a question, Matt, for the Polkadot team?
Hi, yeah, thanks for bringing me up. I wanted to ask a little bit about the bridging. If you've got two parachains and they want to sort of send data between them, is that more secure on Polkadot because they both sort of send data through the relay chain? So does that make it more sort of secure than if you're bridging like from, traditionally one blockchain to another?
Yeah, that's right. So that's the whole thing about like XCM. The way the messages are transferred across like two different parachains on Polkadot. So those messages are sort of secured by the relay chain. So as long as like both the parachains have bug-free code, then if somebody has to like really hack those messages or do something to them, they're actually dealing with the entire Polkadot security right there.
That's great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Matt. Did you have any other questions?
I don't. Everything's been really detailed, I think. So thank you.
Very good. Yeah, it's a great day, Maya. I'm learning much about Polkadot, and let's see if we have someone else who wants to speak. The general, I'm unmuting you. It takes forever sometimes to get people up on stage.
So,
Hello.
I would like to ask a really confusing question. Like it's really confusing for me. So let's imagine that two parachains have bridges to connect to Ethereum and can bridge any ERC20 token standard to the parachain. So how is it possible that their bridge tokens from the Ethereum and are still able to communicate with each other, these two parachains which have a bridge to Ethereum? So for example, let's say Zora has an Ethereum bridge, and let's say Moonbeam has also Ethereum bridge to Polkadot and to the parachains. Let's say that in this word. How is it possible that they both are not confused with this ERC20 token? And can you tell me more about standardizing tokens in Polkadot protocol? Thank you. Did you understand my question?
Yeah, I think I got a sense of like what you're arriving at.
Yes.
I'll try to answer that. We also have like Sean in the audience. He might be able to give you, if he joins, like a better technical overview of what it is. So first of all, the bridge solutions right now, the parachains implement right there. I don't know the status of them, but Polkadot itself is yet to be trustlessly bridged to like Ethereum. So the access to this trustless bridge is going to, enhance like the overall like bridging experience. But right now you're somehow dependent on those bridging solutions. They might be centralized, they might be a little bit decentralized, or they might be having their own solution for bridging those two different a parachain with like something on the Ethereum end. But yeah, so you're basically trusting that particular parachain to deliver things for you securely. So it's not like Polkadot that's sort of giving you the security there. And I see Sean is here. If you want to elaborate on that, feel free, Sean.
Yeah, I just wanted to I think it was a good question. Basically, I think the summary is like, well, you're going to have two different parachains. They're both connected to Ethereum, and then you have basically two representations of some ERC20 token. And the question is like, are these two things going to be like, you know, now do you have like double the amount of tokens, or like are they compatible, or do they work together, all that kind of stuff? I think the high level answer is that these two tokens are not necessarily inherently automatically compatible with each other. And I think the way that you think about it is that the guarantees that you have about these tokens are different, right? Like you can imagine a bridge from Moonbeam to Ethereum uses, you know, one kind of bridge, let's say like some kind of deterministic, you know, security bridge, and then another bridge uses some kind of, you know, multi-signature with some kind of, you know, like pool of people, right? So these two bridges to Ethereum, even though they're interacting with the same tokens, they have completely different guarantees. They have completely different ways to interact and to go over Ethereum. And so when you think about, you know, moving over some bridge token, for example, like ETH or, you know, like wrapped ETH or whatever, even though these things represent both wrapped ETH, the guarantees around those tokens are different, right? Like, you know, one of them could be slower but more secure. The other one could be, you know, faster but, you know, kind of a little bit handled by, you know, a centralized multi-signature, right? So I don't think that these, like, you know, the way that like XCM and all the systems are built right now, these two tokens are not inherently compatible with each other. Now, it can be with some clever programming to make them compatible with each other, to make them just one token. But I think it would be wrong to assume that's the default option. Does that make sense?
And that makes sense. And does Polkadot has any plans to make that standardization, that any parachain that bridge? Oh, do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So Polkadot has plans to make standardizations for this external bridges that connect to various of chains, and make them compatible together. That would be great if you could answer this question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the idea with Polkadot, you know, and this is one of the big sells, is that, you know, when you're describing that, you know, you'd have two different parachains each independently bridging to Ethereum or whatever. But the idea is that actually Polkadot can provide, as one of the common good parachains, a bridge parachain, like a bridge hub, right? And this bridge hub can be bridged to Ethereum, Bitcoin, and all the other, you know, like, you know, layer one blockchains out there. And then you as a parachain don't need to bridge yourself. You can just access Ethereum through the common good parachain. And so I think that the standardization here is basically like, you know, accessing Ethereum not through your own bridge, but accessing it through the common good bridge hub. And in that case, all the tokens you get through the bridge hub will have the same guarantees. And you know, fortunately, we've been working very hard on a really good proper bridge to Ethereum. Like, you know, a lot of other bridges in other ecosystems, they are again, as I mentioned, not necessarily the best done. Like they use basically like multi-signatures and other kinds of things, and they've shown to not be super secure. The bridge that we're working on with Ethereum, which is called Snowfork, actually uses an Ethereum-like client, and is entirely secured, you know, through cryptography, through the actual, you know, underlying, you know, foundation which makes blockchain secure. So this light client will be a true light client with you know, very high guarantees around the security and safety you get when you interact with Ethereum.
All right, thank you for this answer. I'm really hoping to get more details on that in a blog or something like this. Would be great to read more about this bridge solution. Even I read about Snowfork or however this bridge is called. It is still in development, and we didn't see anything right now, like Ethereum bridge and the common good parachains. So speaking about common good parachains, like there is a statement parachain that went viral when someone posted the roadmap about the DEX statement. Could you tell me about the more information about the DEX on statement? How is it possible that Polkadot, like let's say the core developers Polkadot are thinking about a DEX, and totally like in my sense, it's like totally a centralization of development, because it's because the most useful tools will be centralized by one entity, and even there is a governance into it. There is like this is a really critical thinking of mine. Even they have some advantages of the DEX, but I want to listen. I want to hear some answer to my critics about this statement parachain.
Yeah, there's actually a debate that is scheduled on this. Like, look out for another Twitter space that sort of goes into the details about like statement. But happy to answer questions about like Polkadot in general.
All right, okay, great. Yeah, that is
Thank
for
you so much,
Polkadot. That's
General.
it. Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you so much for your questions. Very good. Time flies when you have fun, and I would like to just go through quickly something about the team of Polkadot. Who owns Polkadot, or who runs Polkadot now, would you say?
What do you mean?
No, I mean the team behind Polkadot.
So
is it a company, or is it like a DAO, or how does it work?
So, like the protocol itself, so initially, I think Web3 Foundation has what do you call contracted Parity. So Parity is like one of the key developers for the core Polkadot protocol that's out there, and then there have been like multiple like community contributions to it, and now the protocol is sort of hosts all these like parachains, which are like community in general. So Web3 Foundation giving like grants and bootstrapping like the project, and now like Polkadot is like a decentralized platform that is running.
Okay, good. And where would you see Polkadot in, or hope to see Polkadot in like 5 years time from now?
Yeah, I'd love to see, like, I mean, personally, I'm very excited. I moved to like Web3 space from like university. I've did my research. I've looked at the technology. I was very, very fascinated with like, what Polkadot was doing back then. And I'm still excited for what's going to be built on Polkadot. So looking at like the substrate blockchain building framework, the customizability it sort of offers, and all the real world use cases which people only like talked about. So those are actually being built using like blockchain technology because of the capabilities being provided by the technology that we offer. So very excited to see all of these coming into like fruition. So we talked about like decentralized Twitter, Facebook kind of things like earlier. So I would like to see in 5 years that all of these come to reality, and we'll try our best for all of them to be hosted on top of like Polkadot. Yeah.
Very good, thank you. And Sean, I want to say welcome up to you, but well, we are going to end it now. But if you want to say something, you're welcome to. About Polkadot.
Yeah, I mean, at a high level, I would just say, like, I think, Polkadot is still very much in the early stages. Like, I think a lot of people are expecting us to be running a sprint, and we are preparing Polkadot to run a marathon. We are not interested in the a lot of the short-term thinking that a lot of other teams and a lot of other builders have in the space. What we're interested in building is, really powerful layer 0 infrastructure that will power the Web3 future. And what this means is, for example, not creating and launching bridges which are, using centralized actors, using multi-signatures of people, and you have to trust to bridge all these assets and then getting hacked. It's about building the true light client bridges. It means not building just another smart contract platform on a single chain, but actually building a multi-chain, security layer for other layer 1s to build on top of. It means, thinking about, what the ecosystem actually needs, and not just building a duplicate and a slightly faster version of what people already have, right? And so, I think a lot of the questions I hear and I see in the space are always about, when is X going to appear, or why aren't you doing X better, or whatever, kind of stuff like that. And in my eyes, a lot of this is, trying to ask us to duplicate what already exists. And I think in a lot of cases, I think what we have to remember is that we're trying to actually move the needle forward. We're actually trying to create new things. So I hope, when you look at Polkadot and you look at the work we're doing and you put that in mind, I think it will reframe a lot of the work we're doing, and it will make sense that, these technologies are complex. Like, I think one thing I want to remind everyone is, Gavin Wood, our CEO, or our chief technical officer, whatever. He wrote the first Ethereum client in like a month or something like that, right? But him and a whole team of engineers, including myself, have been working on Polkadot for more than 40 years. And it's not like we've been slacking off or anything like that. It's just the level of technology and the level of opportunities that we're building is just many times more complex, exponentially more complex. And we've delivered a lot. We have more than 30 parachains running on Polkadot, even more on Kusama. We have things like XCM working, stuff like that. But the things like standards, bridges, and the whole wave of things like common good parachains and all of this stuff, they're in the pipeline. They're coming. And I think what you should realize is that we are trying to do things right, not do things fast.
Very good. Yeah, long term. That's good. And I see there are still a few hands up and questions to be asked, but we don't really have more time now, I think, to do that. But where can people go to ask their questions? Where is the best way or place to get their questions asked?
Sure. So we have what's called forum.polkadot.network. So that's one place where the whole community is coming together. I mean, we do have like what's called Polkadot water cooler chat, which is bridged to like Discord. But you could rather like post it on the forum so that the content stays there, and then it's open for everybody to view and sort of respond to.
Very good. So that forum, is that on your webpage, or where is that?
Yeah, so there should be a link on our main Polkadot network webpage, or you can just type it out like forum.polkadot.network.
Okay, very good. Great. It was lovely hosting you guys. And I see Michalis has left now, but if you would like to have like a closing statement or some minutes to tell us something that we missed, so please go ahead.
Yeah, I think whatever like Sean and Michalis already like summarized, that resonates with me as well. I'm also like very excited about the light clients, the whole development that we have in the area of like light clients, which are the last piece in the decentralization puzzle. So very excited about the new governance system that we rolled out on Kusama and the light clients development that we're doing. Yep.
Very good. Do you want to say something more, Sean, before we end?
No, I think I'm so happy for you guys to host us, and I think that's great.
Yeah, great. I'm very happy to have hosted you as well, even though my voice is a little